Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming together today. An opportunity for us to go ahead and take a look at our budget, try to figure out. The first portion of this is going to be for sure, and then we'll get into the actual special session and have a few items to discuss. But these are never easy. These are things that we need to take a look at. We need to explore, ask questions, figure out things, because the best thing that we can do is be able to take care of community. And that's why some of these discussions, prioritize and look at those things. So, so we're holding a meeting. This is a budget workshop today. So if we can go ahead and get started, I think you want to go ahead and brief us first?
Yeah, I'm going to take this off so I can talk clearly. Before we go into the budget, I'd like to take a look at this document, just kind of, it's a high-level view of our cash, just to kind of give you an idea. We have an average of about 1.3 million. It's been the average the past 9 months in our main bank account where we keep our cash. Okay, 1.3 million. The monthly usage for the past 7 months has been around, for AP and payroll combined, about 342,000. So TML and this Chief Loth, which is finance officers of Texas, or something, they both have in their literature, they recommend cities have 3 months reserves. 3 months reserves for us to be a little over $1 million. So not too difficult. And in this budget year, these items I have listed under extraordinary cash usage, those are items we don't pay every month. They're unusual. And these add up, I believe, and I don't think this is all inclusive list, about 180,000, 189,000. And the reason I'm pointing this out is while we do have a cushion of around 300,000 or so, if you look at it, the top numbers, we have things in the pipeline coming that are going to be demands on our cash that are going to easily reduce that cushion down quite a bit. So just trying to be forthright in terms of what we expect to be paying in the near term. Because all of these items, these 5, we've got the invoice for the kennels. We're still waiting for the public works vehicles. These other ones, we'll probably pay the audit in this year. Street repair will probably happen this year. PD equipment will probably also happen this year. So this is going to use up our cash in this budget year. Just to point that out. Okay, the next page, we have other bank accounts that have been set up for specific purposes. And I've only listed the bank accounts that have a balance of 10,000 or more. We've got several that have 5, 1, whatever, but they're not really gonna change much in the grand scheme of things. So we have this cash in these other bank accounts, and you can see that the first 3 are restricted. Tourism is the hotel tax money. We can't touch that. It's just off limits. It has to be used for a specific purpose, tourism. The water acquisition, that's used to buy water rights. So we can't use that in the general fund. Same thing for the gas reserve. It's restricted to use on gas outages. So you have a lot of cash, just can't use some of it as you see or as we would like to. Same thing for the sewer reserve. It can be used in the sewer. HED gave 25,000 or so to build a sports complex. I don't know what the status of that is, but it's still.
It's a drop in the bucket to what they said we needed for
Well,
us to
yeah.
build it.
And the last one is infrastructure account. It's going to use a state grant. It's going to pay costs, overage on the costs associated with that project. So, we have some CDs, and some of the CDs have been allocated, and just go down the list. I think council agreed in the past that, these funds in the gas fund, maybe 50,000 could be used in the water fund if necessary. The center fund, that CD was set up as restricted for use at the community center, so, we can't just cash it in and use it as we, however. The general fund, we can use however, and we're sending 60,000 from the general fund into next year's budget, so we're taking.
95, remember?
95, that's right, 95, I'll find that. 95 is coming out of this CD to next year's budget, just to fund the general fund. And the community center that has a balance of 130,000, that can be available to use in the general fund.
Okay, now, the reason, remember, Edward added those ARP funds into water. So it freed up the community center and the museum funds that council had allocated in January of 20 to go towards the water well. With the ARP money, we can only put that in water or sewer, so we put in water and it freed those other funds up. So
That's obviously we have to spend the ART.
so that's why they're available to the general now.
And the library CD, again, restricted to use at the library. Museum CD, the council agreed in the past, needs to be used for the water fund.
That's also gonna be available though with the ARP funds.
Since we're getting 379,000 under the American Rescue Plan, all that money's going to the water fund, so it's freeing up other monies we allocated to the water. These last two are restricted to the water fund, these CDs. And just last page, just to give you an update on this NRP thing, we submitted the grant last week, and they confirmed by email today that we should get the funds August 31st or sooner. All of our paperwork is in good order. I mean, you can tell by the way they respond in their emails, they're making a big effort to get the money to the cities. Probably better than what we might have spent in the past. So we'll get 379,000 change this month, and a year from now, we'll get the other half. And we don't really have to justify it yet. We may have to explain how we use it down the road, but to get the money, it's pretty wide open.
We're getting how much this year?
379,000.
You said half of that?
So that's half of what we're
That's
getting.
half of what we're getting.
Yes.
So that times two is the total. So we get half the
Closer
money.
to 380,000, $145 shy of that.
And it says here, all monies received are restricted to water, sewer, and broadband. That's all it can be spent.
There's a little bit of flexibility that handout.
Yeah,
They sent out something today where they were highlighting, there's 6 different categories.
and it seems like if you read it, you can use, because I specifically asked the question for Tatum, can we use this for storm drainage on streets, which is a big issue for us. And it would appear that you can use it for like storm drains. So, but I don't think, I mean, the water fund, we shouldn't have any trouble using these funds.
No, we got the well cost facing us.
The well is gonna use up the majority of these funds. So,
It would use up the majority of this 300,000.
yeah, I think so, if we have out, yeah.
Well, the engineer gave us the ballpark at 600,000, right? But with the way prices are, who knows?
It may be higher.
Oh, yes,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Well.
That's an unknown.
Hold on. So, yeah, remember the conversation Jeff said, that was 600,000 on the high side. When he gave us a quote. So that's on the high side. So he's estimating it could be a lot less than that. So it's kind of keep that
I
in
know the
perspective.
first go around it was close to 400,000.
Well, with inflation going up on everything, I doubt it's gonna be lower than that, because I mean, almost 16 years of being a councilman, when they start giving prices, by the time it comes about, it's almost always gonna be higher. They will tell us that stuff, but never see it.
Now, of the 600,000 that they said may be the high end, have we
Yeah.
paid any of that yet?
No, not on the, we haven't even put it out for bid yet. We're waiting on
Yeah.
TCEQ to approve the
Well, you
plans.
know, I heard that most of this 380,000 will go to the water
We
fund.
put it in the
But
water
if
fund to go towards the well.
the bid, we expect it to be somewhere
But
around
we got
600,000,
some
so we're
funds,
actually short.
we got
of that.
some funds set aside.
Yeah, but you,
We have some other funds.
Yeah, from the,
Oh, yeah.
the water, how
Right,
much,
two
how
things
much
to match up.
funds do we have set aside? IRA?
I don't know exactly, but,
What was the question?
how much we've got set aside for the well right now.
Oh, well,
so originally when we had the discussion before, when we had the discussion, the latest discussion we had was on the 24th of May. We had talked about it, we didn't do anything with the American Rescue Plan, with the ARP on there. We said the 250 from the gas CD, 4,000 from the water impact piece. We said 4,700 from the storage fee, 8,134 from the water impact. We had 62,000 from the museum fund CD, and 130 community center CD.
Right.
So that was kind of like a plan B. If we didn't get any money, where are we gonna be able to fund? Because we wanted to make sure that we took care of the well this year. So that's already defined. Now we know that we got those funds coming in. So that just gives us a lot more flexibility of being able to figure out where we're
To
going.
like use 300-something thousand this year and then,
Yeah, well, between some of these, Jerry, between this and those funds that are available, I mean, honestly, it's right there. The thing is that for the rescue plan, you have to wait until you get to the 1 year mark. So that's where the August, so in the sense of justifying or anything, that money is gonna come. It really doesn't matter. And the good thing is that it's gonna come in the current, in that fiscal year. So it's not like it's gonna go into, so it's still gonna show up and be part of this budget. It's gonna be part of this year, in here. So we can take it into consideration. So we have flexibility.
Not only that, since we're getting half of it this year, and then the other one will be about a year down the road, that'll be in the new fiscal year. If we need to, we'll apply that 379,855 that we did this year, move it forward, and make an amendment.
But we should have both of them, yeah, we should have both of them within the same fiscal year.
Actually, it'll be two different. If we get the money this month, that'll be in this fiscal year. The other one will be in the next fiscal year.
yeah, we may not spend it until.
Yeah, because our fiscal year doesn't end until
But
September
we still
30th.
have it though, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
yeah, we'll have it,
It's still gonna be in the
but
same fiscal
it
year.
won't be in the same fiscal year. I mean, we just, we'll receive the 379,855 in this fiscal year, so we can move it forward.
And in the budget cycle next year, we know at the end of August, we're getting the other portion of it. So that makes it easier for us to work with. that.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a godsend.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
And how much are the repairs for the community center going to cost us?
We don't know because we haven't gotten into that, because council kind of allocated that for the water well when we saw that it had run over. So we haven't even thought about it anymore, Charles.
Well, I mean, my understanding of that problem is that there's substantial
Foundation problems,
foundation
yes.
problems, so
Right.
that's not going to be cheap.
No, it's not.
And we want to take that money from that CD for the community center.
It's, well, let's put it this way, the council had said that they put it towards the well. But if it's ARP money, that's gonna be allowed to sit there. And what council decides to do with it from there on is up to y'all.
And so we have,
If y'all are gonna leave it there so that we can get that problem fixed over there, fine. If y'all decide to allocate it to another thing, then so be it.
The one thing that we did talk about with those CDs, and it's all those that were references, we had said we were gonna wait until we got done with the well before we did anything. Because the number one priority is to take care of everything that we need to do with that. So that discussion about using it for other facilities and other things, we said we were gonna wait until we got the well done. And we had
Much
numerous
unknown with that
discussions.
well.
Yeah, well,
Makes sense.
That well's become a money
yeah,
pit.
for the new councilman that's here now, Sandra, remember, we, had, 5-year plan in the past, and the, water well was, what the community voted #1 needed to be done. That was it.
Yeah, everything, everybody I talked to, was camping, there's water.
Do we have a timeline as to when the well should be done?
If things get taken care of based on the timeline, the end of this year,
By the end of this year.
maybe January, but Jeff says that we might be able to get it within this year if everything lines up. Right now, what we're waiting for is we need to get TCEQ's approval. We need to take care of our easement issue. We need to get that taken care of, submitted, because that's gonna be part of the approval process. As soon as that's taken care of, then we can take the next step in the sense of doing the process of getting the actual, the engineering is done, just basically getting the construction done. And today we got the quote from the electrician to go ahead and put the CPS connection in there. So that's about 10,000, something like that. So it's,
What construction is lacking there?
so the
Construction
meter
of
loop,
what?
so what he needs to do is gonna be the meter loop, but the other portion of it is you gotta build out in the well. Inside the well, the cavity of the well, building the building outside that is gonna have the pump, is gonna have the equipment, where the pump will be on top of the extraction of the well. But you also have where it mixes the chlorine.
Okay, so it's a structure,
Yeah.
little structure that
Structure.
has to go around the
Structure
well.
has to be all there,
Okay.
with all the electronic components and everything, the storage places, we're gonna go ahead and keep the extra chemical, different things that we need to go ahead and store there.
Okay.
And then the next portion, well, then you gotta connect it, which the piping is already there. And then the last phase is actually over here in the storage tanks. So the booster station, where they're gonna have to go ahead and reconnect the two tanks. We're gonna use both. Right now, we're only using the big one. So we're gonna use both, so they're gonna connect them all together and then be able to use them with the pumps, the current booster pumps that we actually have. So there's work to be done out on the side of the well, and even including inside the well. And then there's work that needs to be done out here in the storage tanks too. And that's all part of that 600,000, no more than 600,000, that's all included as part of that. So,
Remember that, with the structure.
and then after that, yep.
Good.
All right.
Okay, any other questions on any of this information? Again, the goal here was just kind of give you an idea of our cash position. I think we can move on to the budget now. And we have made minimal changes since we met last time, just so you know, so, but the property tax number did change.
Considerably, about 20,000. You have the tax rate worksheets in front of y'all. I had some up there for the public in case they were interested.
I do want to point out something else. And Edward, you might have covered it in here, and I do apologize. But we also don't forget that we also have the 91K from the original CARES fund that we got from this year.
We've got that added into the budget.
Yeah, it's in here, but just so everybody understands, we also have that pot of money that is part of the relief portion that is out there, so that's about 91K.
Okay, the first component, like Edward said, is the property taxes. And, because of the higher values, because the sales tax, that we're collecting this year has done so well, and because of the less debt that we have for next year, all of those components played a part in calculating this rate. And whereas our tax rate was 4,154 last year, a little over 41.5 cents, our, no new tax rate is 3,863. That means at that tax rate, it would generate about the same amount of money as we got for last year. let's see, you go down to pay, number 53 and number 56 on that worksheet. It has,
Kelly, what page are you on?
it's not a page, it's a number. It's number 53 and number 56. Our debt rate went down about 1 cent this year. So that's part of the rate going down. Okay, number 53 is the no new tax rate, the 3863. If we were to use that 3863 with the current values, that would generate about the same amount of money as we needed this year. And then if you go down to line 56, it's 3905. That's been adjusted for the sales tax that we collected this year so far. And that's over 22 cents, over 22 and a half cents. For, that, if it wouldn't be for that additional 0.5% sales tax, our tax rate would have to be 22.62, a little over 22 and a half cents more it could be if it wouldn't be for that additional sales tax. So it's, so that voter approved tax rate is what it is after we take away that 22.62 for sales tax. So that 3905 is the voter approved tax rate.
That's for, last year.
No, that's for this year. Last year's was 4154.
Okay, so this is, voter approved
Right.
tax rate.
Once upon a time, the no new tax rate was called the effective tax rate a few years ago. Last year it changed. And then the voter approved rate used to be called the rollback rate. In other words, if we exceed that, the voters could get an election going, and if they voted it down, then we'd have to go back.
If they,
Right.
the 39.
Yeah, if we exceed that 3905. So based on that 3905, that's how we came up with the 767. It's not even a 0.5 cent, it's 0.42 cents. Not even a 0.5 cent over last year's rate, or the no new tax rate.
I don't, on the rest of page 1, I don't think we made any changes.
I don't believe so.
Uh, On page 2, we transferred money from the CD, since we had the ARP money come in, we didn't need the funds from the CDs, so that 192,000 is CD money, if you will, that was gonna go to the water fund. Now it's no longer needed in the water fund, so we
The
can go
rich council wants to allocate it to the general.
to the general fund.
It could. And those monies from the communities, for the community center and museum fund CDs, once upon a time, they were part of the budget that we paid every year into those accounts. We were saving up to fix the foundation at the center, and then we were saving up to do some work over at the museum. Of course, that money that we have in the museum fund is a drop in the bucket of what we need to get that building up to snuff.
So, where did we put the money that we're gonna get for the ARP?
It's in the water fund, when we get to the water fund.
So it's on there, okay.
We just didn't reflect it in a general fund because it can't go to the general fund, it has to go to the water fund.
Water,
It's a budget.
It's okay, I mean, honestly. So,
Don't think we had any other changes on page 2 from last time.
The administration budget stayed the exact same amount
Yeah, okay.
before.
Again, minimal changes from our last discussion. Page 3 is unchanged, page 4 is unchanged too.
Right.
And page 5,
Stay the same.
yep,
Um, You can put those totals of what the total,
I think it's on the next, on page 8, we have the general fund net surplus. Sorry, I skipped, it's 1,700, so total general fund revenues, less expenses, we have a surplus of 1,700. Based on the current assumptions we're making.
So how is this gonna be sustainable next fiscal year?
Well,
it won't be.
it won't be. I mean.
We won't have the
I'm
funds to
just putting the
transfer.
numbers down. I'm not making a recommendation here. Because obviously the COVID money we're getting, we'll get some next year, but eventually that money will go away, so we
But
need
we
to
won't
have
get any
a.
for the general fund, it'll be strictly
Right,
water.
it'd be used for general fund, so we probably need to have a separate discussion for the general fund, because that's where the challenge is.
I mean, last time we met, we had a deficit of what, 205,950, right? The last time we had this implement. And from what I'm seeing, pulling 190,000 from CDs, that's how the majority of that deficit is being made up.
Well, actually, it's more than that, it's the 95 plus the 192. The 192 is just from the community center and the museum CDs. The 95,000 comes from the CD for the general fund, it's 140,000.
But it's all coming from 3 different CDs.
Right.
Put it that way.
So, I mean, how are we planning to repair the community center without that money? We have no plan, we wanna take all that money from the community center, we wanna make up the deficit for 1 year. Or, I mean, are there line items in here that we can take a look at to make up that deficit?
I do want to provide a clarification for everybody, and I know in a sense of the guidance that Edward has gotten in the sense of the water and sewer infrastructure, but today, in the guidance that we actually got from the treasury, that they have on there, it's got the different categories in there to replace public sector revenue loss, use funds to provide government services to the extent of the reduction of revenue experienced to the effect. So it's very broad. So, the money that we're getting, you have flexibility to be able to put it in different places on there. So it has on there, so you do have flexibility of being able to do that, to be able to move it in different places. But I just want to point that out in the sense of trying to be able to. Because in the big picture of everything, the money that we're getting from them, if we just say we're gonna put it in the well, it should be able to take care of the well, honestly. In the sense of being able to do that. And eventually, if we take some of it from some of the CDs, we're eventually gonna get it back when we get the second payment, and we're gonna have that money that is gonna be available. So there's gonna be some flexibility. I think what we need to take into consideration is some of the other things that we actually have in here, of whether or not we have the flexibility of being able to do some of the things. And I think that's where we talked about what are the wants, what are the things that we actually need, what are the things that we need to take care of. And I think that's where our discussions were before, is what are the things that we need to have a little bit of flexibility in being able to figure those things out. So that way we can try to minimize and try to figure out how much of an impact we make on some of the CDs and things that go along with that.
Well, we gotta read up on what they're gonna say we can use it on, 'cause
They send me some links that were many pages to read, pretty technical.
Look at the 6 categories on the bottom there.
But the bottom line, we want to use it to get the well done.
Yeah.
So,
That's the main.
Yeah,
why even consider putting it somewhere else if that's no longer priority?
exactly.
I mean, we're this far along with the well, it's not just what we simply let you get it.
But what I'm saying is it gives us a flexibility that, as we wait for the second portion to come in August, that we have the flexibility of using the CDs, because eventually we're gonna get them, and we're gonna put that back into the CDs.
I don't know that this would allow us to put that. I mean, a lot of it is COVID related.
Some of it is. Some of it is.
The support public health is fund COVID-19 mitigation efforts, replace public sector revenue loss experienced due to the pandemic, of course, water and sewer infrastructure, negative economic impacts, that's harms to workers, families, small businesses, impacted industries, and the public sector.
Those are the categories you can use it.
Premium pay
You
for
can pick
essential
one, you
workers.
can pick two, whatever you wanna use it for. I mean, it's pretty much, it's just giving you a broad opportunity. Like it says, these are the different things that you can use it for. So, every community, every government agency has the opportunity to decide how they wanna use it. So, on the different things on there. So,
And it did say you
Do you want me to
can
make
use
a
it for
copy of
storm
those
drainage,
for everybody?
so that's another.
Yeah, let me do that.
You want me to make a copy?
Okay.
Excuse me. One thing I'm good, I can do that.
And Charles, to address your question, we didn't try to make any decisions about what the money, like, we didn't want to change the budget, we were just trying to balance it. So it's a whole nother discussion as to if we want to do some of these things, make some of these decisions. But when I was looking at this, I was just saying, okay, if these are the decisions that are being made, how do we get there? If those are the decisions being made. I'm not, I mean, I agree. If you, we need to think down the road how we,
Yeah, how are we gonna fund these other projects that we're gonna?
it might be easy to fund stuff this year and next year, but what about 3 years from now? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at, on page one, we got the fines at 305, just the fiscal year is at 202. You know, that comes out averaging 20,256 a month. And that comes out to about 240, so.
That's right. And
How are we, you know, is there any guarantee, you know, especially with these resurgence of cases, right? It's like, who's to say that we're gonna be as active this coming 12 months to get this money?
I agree. And I asked the question and, the response I got was we expect our collection of fines next year to be normal. But
Well, and like on the police side, you know, we're gearing back up, okay? The last year and a half have been, you know, because of COVID, it knocked a big hole in activity. Now, I will tell you, yes, if COVID kicks back up and everybody, you know, you're gonna have, especially, you know,
Losses again.
we know people we now know people that have been vaccinated that are coming down with it. And so, yes, there is always that possibility that, you know, things are gonna go south, but we don't know that. I mean, all we can do is, you know,
But the police department's only half of that equation.
yeah,
We, you know what I mean, we write the citations, but we're not the collection authority, I guess you would say. That would be the municipal court. I mean, we could write 600 million, but if they only collect $2, you know what I mean? We don't have that. It's only half of it. So.
And did you factor in the reduced speed limit that's coming up, it's probably gonna generate more?
well, and it should, you know, again, you know, I've been 22 years, I've never looked at my job as to make money for the city, you know, because that's not really what we do as policemen. But yes, I mean, with a lowered speed limit and increased enforcement, that's if your staffing stays okay. You know, that's if there's no COVID, huh?
Adding a position.
Get that position added, there's no COVID that's causing problems, then, you know, I think you will see an uptick. Normal tick.
Yeah, this says replace public sector revenue loss. Yes, funds to provide government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue experienced due to the pandemic. Did we, as a government, lose money this year in our budget due to the pandemic?
in fines alone.
Fines alone,
Just the fines alone.
directly. There's not even any court, it's direct.
So it gives you the flexibility to be able to put it in there. Yeah.
We have sales tax from businesses were closed.
Sales tax didn't go down, but,
No, actually,
the
that
whole-
way,
That went up.
yeah, and that's because everything's gone sky high.
Powerful, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
But,
you can pretty much rest assured, I mean, it's gonna happen for next year. too.
the hotel's been doing extremely well, but if COVID comes along again, it's gonna be losing again.
I think COVID has left, to be honest with you.
Well, it was less, we were in better shape a month ago, let's put it that way.
So
So,
the question is, what are we over the budget again? 200 and something?
well, no, with the addition of that additional 35,000 from the general fund CD and the 192,000 from the museum CD and the center CD, we got it back in balance. It was out of balance because of the administrator and the benefits, and then the added money for the emergency management. That's what put it out of kilter.
But is that sustainable, though? Are we gonna be?
Well-
What good does that do us if a year from now, we're trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel for money and we don't
Yeah, I
have
see
the
what you're doing.
CRF or the ARP to be helping us out? You know, should we be taking all that money? What happens if we wanna, do repairs to the community center? Because, my understanding of that problem is that that's gonna be costly. It's probably gonna be more than what we're trying to use
Yeah.
to balance our budget this year.
Yeah, once upon a time, when we got to that, close to that amount, the council seemed to think it was enough. But with the price of everything going up over the last several years, I don't know that it is.
Same thing about the water. They always, the price is always gonna go up.
Yeah,
There's a lot of unknowns.
There's things that are coming forward, we got impact fees that are also gonna change. And I think, Edward, you did a great job in the sense of highlighting the cash balances in there because, one of the things that you learn across the board is that the city is not a bank. Okay, we're never intended to be a bank. We should be using our funds to be able to take care of the needs and the things that we actually need. So if we need to take care of things, we should be taking care of things. And as long as we have our reserves and we take care of the things that we need to do. So, honestly, based on the numbers, and that's what we were talking about before, we have the flexibility of being able to be where we need to be.
Except that we won't have those same CDs to help us. You're right.
So, that's my question, how do we pay for this, proposed addition of a city administrator? That's 90,000 additional salary and what are the benefits? Cause I've heard 112
Didn't we,
benefits,
didn't we come up with 112, 350 altogether?
112, 350, where's that money gonna be coming from next year?
That's a valid point, because while we can also fund it now, we may not have this surplus or whatever.
We're not gonna have those
2 years
CDs
from now.
anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, we just come off of, this is the second year of, the virus. We hired a financial, director for, somewhat of, just recently. And then to do an administrator on top of that during this time of a lot of trouble that we've had. I'm with Charles on that,
That's what I was saying at the meeting, and
it's not that,
I think we should wait.
it's not that we can say we won't ever hire one, but right now,
I
due
mean,
to
eventually we're gonna need one, but not at this time.
And
we're piling too much stuff on top without the revenue.
We have two extremes on administrative. We have a zero extreme, which is we don't hire one and we don't spend the money. We have the other extreme, we go full-blown, qualified, experienced city administrator, we're up into $104,000. We haven't talked about anywhere in the middle yet. I think it came up before that the need for city administrator, and I heard this from some of my constituents and others, the need to actually have a person on the ground maybe a year and a half, 2 years down the road to have that person in place. If we wait till a year and a half to start to put the person in place, we're already behind because there's You locate the person, you get the person moved in here, you get them up to speed. And so we may be behind the curve if we wait for a city administrator. In the meantime, is there a need to get help in the day-to-day business within city hall and city government? The answer to that is yes. So we haven't talked about the big middle yet. My understanding is that before my time, the council had approved a position for the sewer fund. And had
For the what?
sewer,
No, that's this time. They had approved an assistant for me in the previous budgets,
okay,
but that, they never went
okay,
through
it's never been
that.
filled, so,
Now that assistant that I'm asking about, that additional is coming out of the sewer fund this year.
okay, all right.
Only because the sewer fund's got a little bit of wiggle room, she doesn't have debt
So we're
anymore.
gonna fill that, and we're gonna use the money from the sewer fund to pay for that, okay? So that gets a little relief in City Hall, okay? Do we need any more help in there? If we're looking down the road, you're gonna have 2 years of being city administrator, do we need someone in the interim that's not at $112,000 to kind of fill that void? And my answer to that is that's worth considering. We need to look at that.
You talk about constituents, I got an earful too from people about our budget, about taxes, administrator, the things that we've been doing lately, and it's all been negative. They're telling me, hey, you guys need to take care of business and do things, because we got a future tax base coming up, and so they were, some of the suggestions to me were like, wait till we get that money coming in to hire another high-paid employee. To the homes that are coming in, probably the next year or two, we're gonna get other businesses, with money coming in, so.
So Jerry, and just so you know, the adjustment, and even today, so the adjustment in the sense of the taxes, it was just presented ago, we're going from 41.5 to 39.
Right.
So it's always gonna get adjusted. So in the sense of using an equation to say, hey, when the taxes, and we're gonna be able to take care of that, it's always gonna be in a calculation. So I don't, in the sense of that, kind of keep an open mind what goes along with that. Out of everybody in here, in the sense of experience and having an idea of the things that have happened inside the city hall and the different things that we've gone through over the years, I'm gonna let you know, we don't need an additional person. What we need somebody to kind of help out. So the money that we're supposed to be using, in the sense of looking at that, that's not gonna help out. Now, does it need to be in a city administrator? Like I said, I mentioned, I said, we gotta look at options. We've got to look at everything that is out there for us to take into consideration. Because the general areas that we need help to be able to do what we need to do to be effective. I was in a meeting here last week where I had a chance to have, everybody knows Gordon Hardman? Morgan Wonderland? Okay.
I've heard of them.
Okay, Morgan Wonderland, he's a developer. He does development at a time, and then he actually has that amusement, actually places. It's inclusive, so it's adults and special needs kids can go to these different parks. We were talking about Go Medina, and he went in there and he said, hey, Go Medina, you guys need to maybe consider changing your name. And he said, you might want to change it to Buffalo Up Medina. He said, you need to be prepared because things are coming both on Highway 90 and things are coming down on 35. It is going to happen, and it's going to happen very quick. So he was letting us know some of the discussions and talks that are happening at his level in San Antonio because they're looking. And he already said, we're done going north, we're done going east, we're going west. So everything is happening on this side of San Antonio. So we need to be prepared. We need to make sure that we start going the route. I think what we can do is maybe meet somewhere in between. If Josie needs some help, but we can actually have somebody that is already accomplishing some of those things that need to be done. Tracking the deadlines, managing the projects.
Are you talking about hiring a part-time worker.
No, it can be a full-time, to take that salary, put it together and be able to come up with somebody in the sense of being able to do those things. Managing human resources program, we need to do that. Establishing communications, with the different agencies and the departments, collaboration across the board. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. And unfortunately, we're at a place right now that we have to go. So am I willing to say that we don't need a city manager right now? And say, can we figure out something else? Yes. And that's the reason why I was saying, look at options. Look at everything that we actually have out there. In the past, Matt has actually popped up. As part of the succession plan that Charles actually did, and there was a survey and everybody filled out, he brought it up. And Richie also brought it up in the sense of his interest of being a city administrator. So why not even think about the possibility of, instead of spending the money, why don't we spend the money, get another police officer, and we can go ahead and bring Matt over for 6 months, okay? They need a police officer, no matter what, is that correct?
What do you,
Yeah,
you're talking about when we're
I
adding
don't
a
think we
position.
need to.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So instead of spending the money, we pay for another police officer, we bring Matt along, and then Matt would actually go ahead and fill the gap for a period of time. And we as a council could actually then look at it and see how it actually works out.
One thing I think is important here, we need to keep our wiring diagram in mind and responsibility. I think what we don't need to do is add another level of management somewhere in the city right now. So if we bring somebody in, if it's an assistant to do the sewage fund plus other administrative duties in there, that person would be under you, is that right? On a wiring up, who manages the sewer? Where's
We
that
all
fall?
do, we all do somewhat.
Who's the next level of authority up? Is that
Well,
city secretary?
yeah, pretty much. I
So
oversee.
if I look at
the
an
girls'
organizational chart, the city secretary line sewer department?
Right, sewer department, the water department.
Okay,
Jim does the part out there, I do the.
okay,
part
he does
in the
maintenance type
office.
thing, you do this, okay.
Yeah, those two departments work together.
So that person, if we fill that position, and I think we should, would be under your responsibility, authority, supervision.
That's the way we budgeted.
Right. What I hear the mayor saying, and what I would like to see is not another level of supervision somewhere. We can do this by, again, if you can picture a supervisory chart in your mind, where city secretary comes here, everything blossoms underneath that. Draw another line under city council for some assistant of some level, some title, to help the city council with projects and also to learn the business of running a city. And we don't need to pay $112,000 to get a person like that. Because if we write the job description to do that, it's gonna cost us $112,000. If we write a job description for entry level, you can call it troubleshooter or special projects or special assistant, something like that. Where the primary thing is we task this person to do things to lighten the load on City Hall. We can also say, we want you to spend some time with Edward learning how the budget works. Some time with Virginia to see how she does on the billing and collection. Some time with you, so we're actually preparing for the future when we need this person to step up a little. That's provided we hire somebody who wants to stay here and move along with us. And I do.
I mean, this hasn't come up yet, but it will in the next month or so, but Ms. Compo's not gonna be around forever, right? So going back to like the mayor talking about the succession plan, we need another assistant city secretary. I think it was Marble Falls or Dripping Springs. They have people within the organization that were interested in the job.
Sure.
And they had 3 assistants to the city secretary. And
This
so-
position, this sewer position, can be that person. depending
But
on
what
how
I'm
we
saying
write the
is-
job
What I'm
description.
saying is though, that you're gonna have Miss Compo who's gonna be retiring. She's not gonna work forever. She wants to, but.
No, I don't want to.
Say it
No, I
But
don't.
inside.
see, whoever it is she's training, they're gonna slide into that role, then you're gonna need another person to be picking up the slack that they were pulling along as well, so.
But time passes. Virginia, if I'm not speaking out of hand here, Virginia has made it known that she's happy as assistant secretary and other things she's doing, but she does not want to move up into that position. So,
Gosh, no, she doesn't. She's
Okay,
told,
so-
she's told me that.
the sewer position, if we write the job description correctly, if the primary responsibility is the sewer fund, plus other administrative duties as needed by the city secretary, which basically says assistant secretary. We train this person for the time from now until Josie decides I've had enough. And with the idea, and the person will know who's coming in, if you do this well for the next 2, 3, 5 years up to this time, then we'd look at you possibly for city secretary.
Do we have someone already working for the city that would fit that bill or would be
No.
interested?
No, no.
Okay.
So
So we would,
you get somebody coming in, I think we have, what, $30,000 earmarked for that now, plus benefits, okay? If we have to write the job description for a little bit more than that, maybe we can scrape up another $5,000 or $10,000 to get it somewhere around 40, to get a quality person in there, to handle sewer and to be an understudy to the city secretary.
Well, because of it being from the sewer fund, like I said, there is wiggle room in the sewer fund. That's really the only fund that we have where it's got wiggle room.
How
Because
much,
we,
how much would
well, let's put it this way, we've got $125,000 to be put in reserves.
So we could do that.
Quite a bit of wiggle
We
room.
can come up with a quality person there, write the job description correctly, take care of the sewer fund business, and understudy with Joseph. Now, that takes care of one level of it.
well, see, the council was already, what you're bringing out, the council was already of that idea to get somebody in place already, so that would work out.
But we haven't done that.
Yeah.
I just wish that Donna would have hinted to the state.
I know,
that she
I always,
would-
when she worked for me the first time, I thought she would be the one to replace me. And, of course,
Okay,
she's-
but, you know, you say we approved it, but we haven't done it. My question is, I'm new here, why haven't you done it? So let's do it. Let's do it, and let's do it with the mind of bump it up a little bit. We can work together on the job description to make sure this is the person. When we're interviewing people to do this, what are your goals? Do you want to come into a place and maybe stay here and eventually move up in the system? We can train you to do that if you have motivation to do it. That's one thing. But I think there's still a gap somewhere else to take more of the load off of City Hall, because now we're adding another duty on the Josie to train her understudy. So I still think that we need to think something about a parallel line coming off of City Council to be an assistant and deputy to the City Council to do special projects. And also, it might be, we try to hire somebody to be an understudy, not an understudy, we say OJT for city administrator in the future. That way, we're not 2 years down the road struggling to find the right person. We've raised the right person. We brought this person up. And if and when the time comes to move this person to city administrator, then that position goes away that they were filling before. So you don't need another position.
But one of Ms. Hompa's current complaints is that she doesn't have enough help. So it's like even, all right, that person that we've trained up slides into city secretary based on the workload that's only gonna increase as we have more development, city gets bigger, we're still gonna need those additional people.
We do
So
with that in the future.
so at that time, we should.
We deal with it in the future, yeah. We would hire the people we need based on our income and needs to, instead of hiring one, we hire two.
And
Lower level people to do the busy work. I mean, we have to look to the future. And I heard this, you heard from constituents, oh, we're a year and a half, 2 years away. Okay, I'm sorry, I came on the council and I heard complaints from the council. Well, we have this, city handbook that's 20 years old and we've been talking since 2017 to get it done. When are we gonna get it done? Okay, why haven't we said, let's do it? That's why I said, I make a motion, let's do it, I'll help, and here we go. So let's not wait for 2 years down the road to say, oh, wow, we need someone to really help us out here. We're behind the curve.
Oh, we needed somebody 4 years ago.
Sorry, I wasn't here. And we can't turn back time. And I'm saying, let's not wait for 2 years to say, let's go find the right person. It's gonna take us 6 to 8 months to do that, and then we move the person here, and now we're 3 years down the road. And we have double the size of the city, and you know, with double the size of the city, we're gonna add more businesses out here.
More business,
And
more.
what city council does is gonna get busier, what you do is gonna get busier. If we wait for them to hire somebody, we put ourselves in a hole. So I say, no, we don't need to spend $112,000. We need to fill the position, get an understudy going for Josie, so we're not behind the curve when Josie says I've had enough. And we also need to be preparing ourselves for a city administrator. So this person now would not be a city administrator. I'm looking at somebody right out of college that we can get at bargain price that has motivation, desire to learn and get ready to go up there. And maybe that person isn't ready in 2 years. But that person has helped us out between now and then, and we know what we need for a city administrator. Right now, we don't know. If we wait for 2 years and we pay $110,000, we may not get the person we need. They may not be willing to do what we want. I'm just saying, it blows my mind that we say, we're gonna need this, we really do need this, we might need this. Hey, we were elected to get it done, let's get it done. How we make that happen is up for discussion with us.
I think the biggest thing for tonight is just gonna be the funding.
Absolutely.
So,
I'll throw out here, let's try to find, not $112,000, let's try to find something around $30,000 to $35,000 plus benefits. Now, we're talking a third of what we were looking at. Hire someone, a quality, recent graduate with maybe a year or so experience out in the field somewhere, and get that person in here, helping us out with special projects, learning how our city works, helping us out for the next year or two down the road, and then see where we go from there.
Let me comment briefly, Mayor, I'm trying to shut up tonight, but I can tell you, $35,000 a year, Atascosa County's hiring jailers for $44,000 a year with no experience at all. The market right now is tough. I spend every day looking at salaries and benefits for agencies and various jobs. And it's tough to find someone quality to come to work for that. It's gonna be, that's just me throwing that in there only because I'm dealing with that.
So David, just from experience and also with the HR, I will tell you that it's probably better for us to be able to target somebody between the 50 and 60 for that position. And then in the sense of what she's looking for, in the sense of the position, and remember, the discussion that we had so far with assistant, getting somebody, that was supposed to be part-time. That amount that was given out was part-time. That's what I wrote on my notes.
It's not
That was
right.
part-time.
No,
It
we
was
had 30,000.
It was a full-time with a permit, the utility permit one, and then we were gonna get a part-time person to come in. So that's what we actually had talked about. Now, if we're gonna go full-time, totally understand, but if we're gonna go full-time, then you're looking for per level of responsibility, you're looking at somewhere between, with 35 to 45,000. That would be,
Originally, I think we did talk about part-time, but it got changed the last go around.
I don't know. That's just out there.
You can ask
All I'm
Charles.
saying is, if we're gonna go full-time, you're looking at a 35 to 45,000 max in the sense of starting there.
And there's some wiggle
There's
room
wiggle
in the
room,
sewer
that's
fund.
what
So, I'm with you, but be very careful because the level of responsibility for that based on the job description and what you're looking at is gonna be different from what you're looking at with a special assistant. So,
No, it's two different things.
yeah,
It's
especially,
totally two different things.
especially if you're looking at, that position is not a college graduate, the one over here is. So, if you're targeting that. So, I'm just saying that I think we should be 35 to 45 range in that one. And then on this one, it should be like a 50 to 60, somewhere in there. That's what you should be targeting at. And if you put those together, we're still gonna be pretty much close to what you were looking at. I mean, in the sense of the different things. And you know, I'll throw the idea again, you know, we have somebody who's interested too.
Okay, let me
So,
throw,
I
let me,
can-
hold on, let me talk. You work for me right now, so a few minutes, maybe. Okay, Matt's gotta make 75 a year, period, or he's gonna lose money. He's got overtime, he's got holiday pay, he's got his base salary, which is in the mid-60s,
Mid-60s now.
You know,
Incentive pay.
incentive pay,
The ability to work off-duty jobs.
off-duty jobs, means 75,000, or he takes a pay cut. So just, those are numbers we looked, that's why I want to interject that. So that's, because I know that a lot of council people are new and they might not know what we make. They might not understand some of our pay range and the overtime stuff and, you know.
Mr. Emery talked with me about it today.
Yeah.
And I
That's
showed him,
that's 18
What's
and a
your
half to
earnings
19
were
years at
last
the city
year?
too.
and
No,
So that's
good
the next-
information to know.
increase.
And that's what my suggestion is, that we get the person we need at the price, we got some wiggle room in the sewage fund, that helps out right now in City Hall with busy work. And it can be an understudy for city secretary in the future.
But you're talking about one position, he's talking
One,
about two.
right. And I'm talking another position. I think we can shoot a little lower than the $50,000-$60,000 range. I think we can find a recent college graduate who wants to move to beautiful, partly rural Lytle, Texas, with lower taxes and good schools and lower property prices. And with the eye of, I can be here for the next 30 years if I do this right. And we train this person up to be the city administrator we need 2 or 3 years down the road. And then, I mean, we can give this person a little raise every year, keep them here with the goal of 2, 3 years down the road, then we get up into the rarefier of $100,000.
I would like to be able to find that person, David, but I think that, you know, the type of government, you know, workers, right, that we have in this compo, they're a rare breed, they're dying breed. It's gonna be very seldom that we find somebody who's willing to make those sacrifices and salaries to move out to life. As much as we are invested in this community, I think it's a hard sell to lure somebody out here for that amount of money. I will tell you this, though, that I know that there is interest in the job that we have available right now.
The sewer fund bill?
More than that,
Are you talking about that one or the?
I'm talking about somebody who would be a perfect fill-in for Ms. Compo for at least a decade.
Your girlfriend?
No, no, I would not have her over in the city if I could help it.
Remember that ethics training?
No, Richie, I'm not talking about the girlfriend. I'm talking about somebody with more experience in city government than you.
That wouldn't make
It's probably, like, you know, she'd probably be the police chief too, if you want.
Who is it?
Can't tell you that right now. All I'm saying is that in the future, talking about next time we have a meeting, we can discuss this.
That sounds good.
But it's somebody who's not a recent college graduate, it's somebody with just as much experience.
But that would be
Ms.
for a
Thomas.
future city secretary position.
Well, she'd take the pay cut to come over.
I think I have an idea now
Yeah.
of who you're talking about.
Well, we're cool with that.
Okay, but we're still talking about,
We're talking about somebody who's gonna be able to replace Ms. Compo. She's gonna be able to fill in the short term, learn everything that Ms. Compo has to teach her. And then we have somebody who's very capable.
okay,
So,
what about the other idea of the,
and that recent college grad, if we can find them, great. I don't think we can.
okay. The mayor mentioned sewer fund could be high school grad and this other can be college grad. Why?
Hey,
Why?
I'm just saying,
College degree these days doesn't necessarily prove ability.
all I'm saying is this, is that we're gonna be hard pressed to find any, how many people have you had that turned over in the past year working in the city hall?
Oh, we got two already.
And none of them are still there.
What was their pay range?
They were about in the $30,000 range.
That's why I'm giving you that window of operation based on the responsibility.
Yeah,
You know, Jerry and I actually sat down and went through this whole thing, so we kind of have an idea. And, you know, I think if everybody's comfortable, we can move and come up with a number to be able to take care of both needs and give us the flexibility to be able to do that. So, because the need is there. The need is there.
absolutely. The need is there, and I don't know, wait 2-3 years to start with.
I think we need, we get somebody with $50,000, $50,000.
I think, and Sam, you're correct. I mean, if you're looking at somebody as a special assistant to the council at a 50, I think it would be okay. I mean, it would still be, one, it comes to the community and everything, I think it would be reasonable to be able to do that. But you're still looking at the position that you're holding, you know, would be a different amount. Just
Well,
because of the
Yeah,
requirements.
but like I told David, if we're gonna go that route, then that's gonna relieve me of stuff to where I wouldn't have to have that girl in the office. I would, if you're gonna get somebody in here to do that, and that's gonna relieve me of stuff to where, that other person wouldn't.
I would just leave it right now that we need to get 2 people, okay? And the requirements that we need in there, you know, we need to be able to take care of certain things, and they need to be managed a certain way. So it's not about volume, it's about capability. So the main thing that we need to do is look at opportunities. So just like you were saying, Sam, you know, in the sense of that particular one, I think it would be reasonable to be looking at somebody within that range.
Well, I'm talking about maybe 50,000 to be your assistant, and you're gonna teach her or whoever the person
Teach
is.
him or her,
Yes.
not necessarily her.
Well, whoever the person is, you know, and then you can say retire, well, at least
Yeah,
he can take over your job and everything.
which is what I wanted for the last 4 years.
Remember, the council appointed, Charles and me on a committee to look for
Succession.
replacements for, when he was mentioning somebody to, work under Josie. So we were already appointed to look for somebody, and, and also the other departments to work towards replacing some of the ones that may want to retire, and preferably by within the department themselves, but, it's looking, looking negative so far.
Yeah, there's one person in the entire city right now that wants to get familiar with him. He's in this room right now. That's Matt here. Everybody else really doesn't have an interest. So we're gonna have to look outside and see.
Okay, so the position under Josie for sewer and maybe understudy training to be city secretary. Didn't we already say, go ahead and find somebody? Or
Well,
did
no, not yet. We're working it into the budget.
Yeah, but I mean, last city council meeting, did we say go ahead and start
Well,
advertising
okay.
for the job?
That was for the utility permit tax collector.
Oh, okay.
right, and that was the position
Okay,
that
so
was
here's
vacated.
the rest of my question.
Right.
I know we don't make that decision tonight. I would like to look at the meeting next Monday night, put an agenda item on to fill that position. Having said that, we need to be prepared to make that decision by making sure that we do what we need to do in budget tonight to tell you how much to advertise, right? And we're not up to the sewer fund.
No.
Okay. So, but
But
now,
y'all,
other
okay.
position, what the mayor's suggesting, what I'm suggesting, there's a need there to have this other person. The mayor just cut the price in half. Instead of 112, we're 50 plus change. So, again, we need to do what we need to do with the budget with the mind toward making the motion Monday night and have some discussion on creating that position and advertising. Do I understand correctly?
Yeah, for
We
tonight,
don't make these decisions tonight, but we're working on the budget
I
tonight.
just need to put the figures so
Right.
be able to
And
say.
and we're still, this is not final. we're still working on this.
This is a workshop right now, that's
Okay.
correct.
So we can adjust that down about 112, like 53, 55. And then Monday night, we can start discussing this and move ahead with it. If we don't do this part tonight, then Monday night, okay, how much do we pay this? And we're back with
I'm-
playing with the budget.
I think Edward would agree with me, because we've discussed this before. There's so many unknowns right now, because he's new and isn't completely trained. Once he gets completely trained, I'm not gonna be doing the reconciliations, I'm not gonna be doing the budget, I'm not gonna be doing the reports that I'm doing now. When he gets trained, he's gonna take a much bigger load off of me. And then I also talked to Mr. Emery about how you had mentioned to me about doing away with the tax office. If those things get taken away, then why pay for 2 more employees? Why not just 1?
That's what I'm saying, just.
See what I'm saying? I'm just thinking we're gonna be throwing money away, because once he gets completely trained, and if we take the tax office away, that's gonna free me up quite a bit.
Josie, it's honestly, I wish, once again, I've been around, I've seen, I've experienced how we do things, how we take care of things. And, we've got to be conscious of what capabilities are available and what can actually be able to be done. And we need to get somebody that is going to be able to take us where we need to be based on doing those other things. And it's not based on volume, it's just based on the capabilities. So, I think we need to go ahead, and I think it's reasonable for us to be able to get 2 different individuals to take care of the city secretary, and for us to be able to get somebody getting lined up in a sense of opportunities to be able to be in the future, some sort of administrator, that might go along with that. We definitely need to take that into consideration. And I think the budget within itself, if we take care of both of them, we could actually work within the limits. I think it's very reasonable based on the numbers that we actually have. So if you're looking at, and by the way, we can't, based on previous, we still need to create the job description first. So the job description needs to be created first to identify how much the range is gonna be able to make a determination. We can't just wildcard a position and say it's gonna be this. We
Well,
can
because
we
the
can think
budget is-
about what we're targeting, but honestly, you gotta list all the things that person is gonna do to be able to justify the amount that you're gonna do.
Well, because
So-
that's not all in play right now, and the budget is of the essence, and us getting it adopted before the fiscal year. Why couldn't we amend the budget after council decides to create that position?
It's better for us to just do it right now. I think we have the
Not if
flexibility.
council doesn't really,
I think we have the flexibility for us to be able to do that. I think we have the opportunity to do that right now, to give ourselves the chance to go ahead and take care of that. And I ask the council to take that into consideration, because we do need help. We do need help. And this is not gonna get any easier, it's not gonna get any lighter, based on the different things that we've gone through in the last few years and things that where we're at right now. So I encourage you to take that into consideration as well as go ahead and consider that. So
How long is it gonna take us to create the job description?
I think we can do it tonight, but
Can't do it tonight.
We want to do it tonight.
2 months, 3 months, and then
Shouldn't
how long
take-
did it
I'm
take,
saying, why couldn't we amend the budget?
how long did it take to create the last position, right, finance director? How many months did that take off last year?
Dragged on a few months, yeah.
Sort of that 3 months, so I mean, even if we do, we can prorate that position, it's not gonna be full, right? So,
Do you understand, if we just don't do anything with the budget right now,
But we're gonna do
We're
something,
kicking
David,
the
but my
can down the
concern is
road.
good in these CDs of everything that's in them, paper stuff that we're not gonna be, that we don't need it for yet. We got $192,000 in the CDs for the community center. That probably needs at least $200,000 in work on that foundation alone. Am I wrong? I mean, who else has been around? Matt, what do you think about the cost of repair of that community center?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be cheap. So I don't know. It needs work, there's no doubt, but
We're gonna spend all this money on what? Budgeted for what? Just to get a balanced budget, just so it lines up? I mean, we're still in the negatives.
We've done
But, yeah, because you could put in your CD.
You got nothing in your CDs for next
No,
year.
you're up.
Reserves. Is that the responsible?
Isn't that, when we have 159,000,
Oh, that's okay, that one you're on, that's restricted for the center, yes.
Well, yeah, but we can do
Right.
that.
so you'd still have 150 for that.
Restricted in the sense that the interest we generate off of it from year to year goes towards, maintenance and operation. But when the council determines after a certain amount of time, that it's to be used to, maybe add on to it or something like that. First, I don't really know where we could add on to it, but anyway, or if, like maybe a major project like the roof or something like that. But that's after a certain amount of time, and we're coming up close on that time already.
So, one of the things that we can do is just based on it, right now, we just have the amounts, and we put the amounts in there. It doesn't say how or how you have it divided or anything like that. If we can just leave it the way it is, and then we get a chance to be able to define the two positions, it'll pretty much be around the same time, around the same period. And like Charles said, you still have that amount, it's still probably gonna be less because you'll go through the period of creating and advertising, interviewing and hiring. So it's not gonna be the full amount for this fiscal year. So you'll actually have some flexibility. But I think we should be targeting around that area for us to go ahead and fill those two positions.
It's a starting point. And it motivates us to go ahead and do the job description and start the job hunt, candidate hunt. And because it is gonna be much better. Because you have the experience,
That's correct.
So, does it cost us anything to put it in the budget tonight to get the ball rolling? We can change this, right?
We just need to go ahead and, it's basically us saying that we're willing to go ahead and work.
Because there are two different issues. City secretary future is one issue. City administration is another issue. And both of those are not in the far future that we're gonna have to deal with both of them. And if we wait until it's time to deal with them, we're too late. We're way behind the curve. I'll shut up.
So, what page were we on?
Well, we have to go back to the general fund and change those figures that the council approved.
Okay.
It won't be the 112,350 for the administrator, but it would be maybe half of that.
Yeah, why not? 56,000. Plus change.
That's what the council,
I'm a calculator with it.
they will need some guidance. They need to decide if they all are gonna do that or not.
56,000 instead of the 112.
Yeah, whatever the change was that you had in there.
And that would include benefits and everything?
No, that would be plus the benefits.
I
Well, the
was thinking
112
including
is
the,
the 250.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
250 was
We already
all.
calculated the
112 is
112,
including
so you're doing the half. That's
So
right.
now you're talking about
You're talking about 45,000.
$45,000 a year
yeah,
job.
something in that area. We might find somebody for 43 and
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
we're good.
If you get somebody really qualified, we can find a little there.
Yeah. But it's a starting point. And if we don't have a starting point, we're not going anywhere. I think.
That's
Sort of, sure.
That's true.
You said that.
I said that.
The 272, we're just gonna adjust that by
Okay, well,
56,000.
we're in the discussion phase, council
Well,
got it. We've heard how the mayor and Emery feel.
Do we need a motion on that?
No, we can't, but take
No,
motion.
that's
Okay.
just discussion of.
Oh, okay. Then I suggest we do that.
So you're saying two positions though, with the other one coming out of sewer fund?
Yes. Yes, I think we need it. I think we need it.
And then the one that we were going to hire for, to be trained for secretary, that money was already funded.
No, that's what we're so in between city administrator and entry level person. We're trying to get somebody who's gonna ideally be able to replace Josie in the next couple of years.
Okay, but that one would be
That's
coming out of the
separate
sewer
from
fund,
the,
right?
Yeah,
And then the other one would be another position, like a special projects that would
special
work with the
assistant to the
council.
city
Regardless of
council.
who it is, I mean, we're talking about 2 personnel in city hall.
We're
You know,
replacing the girl that left, right?
Well, yeah, but that's already in the.
That one is already being
Oh,
advertised.
okay.
So the person we wanna find is not,
There's two
gonna be
people,
the-
the one that's budgeted in the
yeah,
sewer
that's
fund.
separate, yeah, that's separate.
That's
It works for
someone
me,
who's
and the
gonna
other one
grow
that
into
would be-
Josie's job.
And so the, one we want to hire to, with regard to training for future administration, will be hired for in the.
Parallel line to Josie, not under her line of supervision, not over her in supervision,
Exactly.
under the city council,
Yeah.
independent, taking care of special projects and learning the business of city council. While this person's learning, this person's helping. So whether it's cleaning up historic files, or it's learning a little bit about city budget, or it's learning Virginia's out sick for 2 days, this person can fill in there. This is a person with some flexibility, because if we're gonna hire a city administrator in the future, we want a city administrator that knows how the job's working.
And so then after we, adjust the budget to pay for this, then we will draw up the, job, some of the things that you.
Yeah, then the job description, then we'll go out
Gotcha.
and start advertising for the job. Absolutely. And
That way we'll know.
Josie, I heard what you were saying about, if we get rid of the city tax thing and turn it over to Jordan, and Edwards full up and relieves you of some of that responsibility, that frees you up to do a whole lot of other stuff
Right,
that you've been trying to get done.
that's been on the back
And you
burner.
say, I get it done when I get time. Well, we're gonna give you time to do that. And as in anything, if we create this position, special assistant, on day 1, week 1, even month 1, it may look like we're not giving this person enough to do. Believe me, at the end of the year, this person's gonna be busy. We're gonna find stuff to help the city that this person can do that hasn't been done because there was no one free to do it. I know part of your bailiwick is grants.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna say, we need to buy it.
Okay, well, how about you work together with this person? One of you kind of focuses on, let's see what's out there in grants, and together you work on getting these grants submitted. Would that make it easier to get some grants? And that's, grants are called money, Jim.
And Dave, and the council for clarification, so you kind of have an idea, so the grant portion that is written into his job description is more from the financial side of it. So the applying, the tracking and the stuff like that.
Mhm.
What you're actually, just for clarification, we're talking about bringing somebody that knows how to write, be able to do the different.
Well,
things.
first of all,
So-
you have to do some research to find out what grants are available.
Exactly,
And,
exactly.
and then the person has to write them.
Exactly.
And these two people work together to get it submitted correctly to get the money. So, I mean, not to be too Pollyanna about this, but this person might actually pay for himself or herself by getting grants that we're not applying for right now, that we don't even know about right now. There's money out there.
I spent 2 years trying to get grants to do lighting on people, stuff on that.
Were there no grants available,
Or
or?
I got turned down by Toyota, I got turned down by Waste Management,
Yeah, but these weren't, they weren't grants, they were basically applications for community
Involvement funding, yeah.
support.
Yeah.
So it's like a community outreach.
I'm talking about different agencies in the government have,
Right,
there are pools of money sitting out there that we're not tapping into, because 1, we don't know about it, and 2, we don't have anybody with the time, energy, or responsibility to go find them and work with Edward to get it done correctly, so we can actually pull some of this money in. Do you think there's grant money sitting at different levels in the federal government that just stays there every year because nobody's applied for it? Yes is the answer to that. So, I mean, right there, we could fill up this person's day doing nothing but grant work. We don't wanna do that, we want this person.
Where's the guy that you,
other stuff.
we had Grant, what was the two brothers here? What,
Yeah, but that's, they work on specific grants. This would be somebody in-house.
In-house, we write that into the job description, to research, write, and help, procure, I don't know if it's the right word, get grants. And, you know, we have someone to help, they work together, we get it done. So this person is not gonna be sitting around playing on their phone all day. This person's gonna be busy, and the level of work that we give this person is gonna increase during the year. If we don't have the person, don't get done. Somebody else is gonna end up doing it, and you're never gonna get your closet cleaned out there. I'm sorry, it's just facts.
We work on this, we're already gonna pay.
Yeah, so I'll shut up for, where do we adjust this? You said we have to go back somewhere and adjust it, where do we do that?
Well, I'm on page 2, so we'll adjust the 260,000 to reflect, lower costs.
on what page?
Page 2,
Under what?
salaries, it's the third, fourth of the way down.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
administration position is not, okay, yes,
Adjust that number to reflect the lower cost employees.
yep.
Looking through here, no other changes from the last budget meeting, the rest of page 2.
Okay, well, all those, line items on benefits will be adjusted to
Well, yeah,
downward.
yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be absorbed in that 56,000.
Page 3. Don't think we had any changes here, everything in the police department.
Basically, if we do this, we just amend the salaries and the benefits in the administration budget. And then the transfer from the CDs is less and the
Yeah.
Basically, that's all it is.
correct. That is correct.
So you just know you need to do some calculator work on this change, but that's why we're doing that.
So on page 4, there's no changes there from the last meeting. Page 5, I think it's the same.
Library funds are identical.
Page 6, library is unchanged.
Now with the library, just for clarification, Cassandra, you're still trying to take care of a few things this year, right?
Yes, the computers, we already ordered them, I'm just waiting on them, Matthew said they'd already been ordered, he's just waiting for me to get them.
Awesome. That's great.
So, hey Cassandra, what repairs are left to be done? We got another 108,000 budgeted for repairs and maintenance.
Okay.
What do we still need to do over there?
Well, that's budgeted in the general fund. I believe 10,000 is gonna go to the actual repairs and maintenance on the building. The other gets transferred to the library, fund for operations.
So why is it under repairs?
It's just done that way. It's just always been done that way. It's to maintain the library. The workings of the library. Take that from the general fund. Transfer it over.
To me, it sounds like that's coded wrong, though, if it's repairs
Well,
and maintenance. It's kind of
It's
misleading.
maintaining the,
You know, it's misleading if we're saying we got $180,000 in repairs and maintenance on a building.
well, maintenance is defined
Charles,
as
where
maintaining.
you at? I'm trying to find out.
Page 5 in community recreation expense.
Yeah. So it's 180,000,
Repairs and maintenance, public library.
170 of that
You
is,
see what I was,
if you see the next page at
that's
the
what I was
top,
looking at.
transfer from general operating.
Yeah.
'cause it's
Okay.
showing as.
I guess we could put that on,
Maybe I'm saying, like,
transfer to library.
you know, it's confusing whenever.
We could do that
overviewing this,
separate
to
line
be
item.
like,
We could do that as a separate line. item. 10,000 goes to the building, the other goes to the maintenance of the library. When
It'd
I
be the
say
operation
maintenance,
of
I
the
mean
library.
The operations of the library.
Not the maintenance.
Library
Operation.
operations or something, yeah.
Cause that's salaries and everything,
That's
right?
the,
Right.
that's the expense.
So
So it's
basically, just be
But I mean,
a
that makes
transfer,
sense, so it's
transfer
like,
the
it's like,
library.
what is Cassandra running over there?
Got a lot to maintain.
That's a good summer reading program.
Okay, but basically, we could cover that as repairs and maintenance to the library.
Yeah,
and then
I mean, that makes sense.
transfer to library for operations.
But to answer your question, we do have flooring coming up next year in the budget to replace flooring that.
We got that in there.
Yeah, I remember talking about that a couple months ago, last meeting.
Okay,
But they're still,
we can separate those into two line items.
so there's still 10 in there for this year? Or no? For the maintenance?
We had 10,000.
So she still has it available?
She gets 170.
So she still got 10 this year to do something if she needed to?
No, we're not talking about this year, we're talking about the budget.
Gotcha.
She hasn't used up her budget for this year, is that right?
No,
You still have reserve in budget spendable.
we're working on that.
Yeah, trying
Trying to spend it?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Rashad, money I could just.
We can separate those line items, that's not a problem.
It's just showing as it's an input and an output, so. Yeah.
That would be 10,000 for repairs and maintenance and 170 transfer to library for operations. And then it's on the next page when we talk about the library, transfer from general operating for operations.
Page 6, no further changes.
Which page?
The 6.
The library,
6. Okay. Page 7, animal control. We made a slight change. We increased at the bottom repairs and maintenance. The building, we increased that from 6 to 8,000.
so we had gone down on it before, but we had some money left over, and that building's getting older, it's gonna need more work. I mean, you can,
Just 2,000.
yeah, which is what we had in this year's budget, 8,000.
You talking about repairs and maintenance?
For, in the general, in the animal control.
Yeah, I had a question to Santiago. Hey, Santi, where did you get this price for the F-250 for 31.3?
Matt.
Yeah, I got that through HTAC from the COG.
It's bid, like
Yeah.
a pre-bid.
Yeah, I know what it is. But can we get one for that?
Well,
Yeah, that's what he quoted us on there, on that one. He had an F-150, which was a little cheaper, and then the F-250, I guess he needs for pulling trailers or something, so that's why he talked about an F-250.
What trailer is he gonna be pulling?
I get public works, I get stuff that I get from San Antonio.
What's the difference between that
What-
F-250 and a 150?
It's just like a Dodge, I can't pull nothing with it, like I struggle getting stuff.
But that's got a V6 in it. Yeah, the F-150 would have a V8, when we priced it.
I didn't know
It was
he had
about-
trailers.
I'd have to look again, but it was like a $5,000 difference. I'd have to look at them again. I got the quote. What are you doing? I'm not giving
But the
you.
government pricing is extremely cheap
Yeah.
compared to what you look, like we'll buy a police car for 26,000. When you go pick the car up, the sticker on there will be like 36,000.
I can vouch for
Why
that.
aren't we buying these vehicles and reselling them during our used car lot?
Well,
That's how we're looking to
you
make
know,
money.
if you want to talk about talking outside the box, that might be
Yeah.
the wisest thing I've heard.
You gotta.
Okay.
you gotta
Find
find
some
something.
cancel used car lot.
So I can tell you, I can open these real quick. The F-150 was quoted at $28,642.75. It's got like delivery fee, so it might be a little bit, not,
$3,000 difference, not even that, 2,700.
Okay, page 8, no changes there.
Well, yeah, the page 10 on page 9 at the top.
Page 9. Page 9. We made, we put the smart meters under materials and supplies, 52,000. Put the trencher under miscellaneous equipment, we didn't have that listed before.
We had it under miscellaneous, period.
Yeah, so I know James isn't here to defend himself, but, why are we buying a trencher? You know, whenever, it's my understanding, they use it like 2 to 3 times a year, why don't we just rent one? We're spending 40,000, you got budget for 40,000, you can rent it a day for $225.
That's something we need to discuss with James.
so James asked me to look into the trencher and get prices. And I asked him how often well, first what was wrong with it? They blew the motor up in it. To replace the motor, and I'm not a, motor, but $2,000 or $3,000 probably. I don't know what else is wrong with it, but they said it was just the motor. I looked at pricing for a brand new one on HVAC, no formal bid, but it was around 10,000-ish, somewhere in there. Then I asked, because it's a lot of money, how often they really used it. And I was told maybe 2 to 3 times a year. Talked to one of our guys that worked there for several years, and he says, I remember in the 4 or 5 years I worked there, we might have used it 2 or 3 times. So
Yeah. so
big
that's
expense for an
all I
item
said.
you hardly use. Is it better to rent? Is it better to spend money out of his current budget if he has left for repairs and maintenance to equipment? I don't know. To fix the trencher for a couple thousand, they've got an okay trencher that will last them, a couple of years. I don't know. And then there's options. I know he's always talked about an
That's a good
excavator.
point.
We could go ahead and modify that in the sense of being able, because it is a lot less if we actually fix it. But on the other side, those of you that have been here for a while, how many times do we always end up with extra out of public works because they didn't get the equipment that they needed
Every year.
every year? So, I mean, in a sense, we will have money. I mean, so we can probably do it
Oh, we have
smarter.
it left, it could go to better fund, right?
So
Water.
we can actually have flexibility on that one. So if you guys want to lessen that, knowing that we might be able to do something, it'll be okay. But technically, honestly, at the very end, we're gonna end up with money left over because James always figures out a way to save the money. So it's
Send
up
me
to you.
over there. I'll fix that.
I don't know
Oh.
how to fix stuff.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm
he
talking about
didn't know
spending
how to
money.
spend
I know nothing about trenchers. Now, the only bad thing, Mayor, was what happened is if James retires between now and the end of the budget, and the new person is like me,
Well, he can dig the hole with it.
I can do it.
There you go.
I get a loop to
Do you
do it.
guys want to lessen
Yeah, I
it?
dig,
Or
I
do you want to
dig.
leave it and just?
I think in all fairness to James, you ought to leave it and that'll,
We'll talk to him when he comes back.
anytime there's something major in there, we always come to the council for approval after the budget's adopted. And then we can get into that discussion again as
Because I think
to
what
how many times
Matt
are really.
brings up is a valid point, and honestly, that's what we actually did with the, oh my goodness. For the sewer line.
The sewer
Yeah,
machine.
just the
Kenlow,
Kenlow
The
bill,
Ken-
yeah,
Thank you. So,
yeah, but we still, actually, Edward and I would disagree with you a little bit on that.
why?
Because we were told it was gonna be a lot less. And, we both feel that if
Ended up
we
being
would
more?
have, yeah, about 4,000. But, yeah, and now we got to come up with that, but luckily it's the sewer fund, so we take it from the reserve. But,
it costs a lot more than.
Edward and I were,
So that one ended up being, we should have bought it. Is that what you're saying?
no,
Instead of repairing it? Because that one we do use a lot.
Well,
well,
when our equipment broke, our guys went out and rented one, thinking they were gonna need it.
Uh-huh.
We don't know whether they used it
found out they
during
could have
that.
gone to another town close by and borrowed theirs, and so we had this equipment pretty much on standby, we didn't really use.
Okay, so it was the rental, it wasn't the fixing of the machine, that's what I
It
was
was,
talking
no,
about.
no, it was a rental.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was told the
I'm
machine was
talking
too-
about the fixing of the machine.
No, the fixing was about
Which
close to
is what,
15.
what Matt is saying is maybe we should fix a picture versus actually
Yeah,
totally
for as
replacing it.
infrequently as they use it, they're
Yeah,
not gonna be wearing
You
it
know,
out.
I've talked to
well, that
James,
can be discussed.
Yeah, I think,
If it's $5,000 to repair it.
and get it back to almost brand new.
This year, that's a
Even
money.
10,000.
Look at maintenance, you know, I don't know when the last time was they had the backhoe maintenance service, truly serviced by Case. Replaced all your oil fill. That should be done every year.
oh, now you want to be the public works director.
No, I'm trying to, you're buying high ticket items like a backhoe. You expect that backhoe in a city for us to last 10, 12, 15 years. And they will if we do our maintenance on them.
But you know what James could use too, and he's not here, but I'll throw it in there, we talked, is with that money, a mini excavator, you know what I'm talking about, it's on tracks, it's got a little small, and it's small enough to work on most of these projects they have,
Versus taking their big backhoe out.
versus taking a big backhoe, you know, there's a lot of options,
Well,
and it would make it a lot easier for these.
Oh, that's another discussion that we need
Yeah,
to
but
have
I'm
today.
just
and we gotta look at what is left over this year too, see if there's any.
In all fairness, we need to talk to James.
Exactly, yes.
We can amend the budget right there.
Yeah, well, you know, if you don't even have to amend it if you're gonna have it looked over.
Well, let's put a big circle around this with a fun mark. and we're
Yeah, and he'll come to the council and ask when he wants to purchase it. You can get into discussion at that
done.
point.
We know that there's room for discussion and maybe move forward.
With the money there would be, because I'm always gonna look, there's room for a mini excavator within that and still be well under that budget. So,
Good, good.
Here again, as often as they use it, would it be better to rent it, you know?
well, but I think in what James is saying, the jobs they're doing doesn't always require the backhoe. It could take the mini
I
excavator.
thought that's why they got the Bobcat, because,
No, not to be able to dig down. So when they're repairing some of these water lines, they don't need that big backhoe.
Yeah.
So we're taking and using a smaller piece of equipment that's cheaper to run, less expensive on wear and tear, and we're extending the life of that big piece from 10, 15 years to maybe 20 or 25 years. You know, that's, how long can we extend this big piece on, like fire trucks? How long can I extend the life of this $500,000 fire truck by using this $35,000 car to run quick EMS calls?
Talk with James.
Okay, nothing else on page 9. Moving on to page 10. Okay. No changes.
okay, on that water fund surplus, Edward.
Yeah.
Because of the ARP and the CRF funds being moved forward, look at that probably needs to be a transfer to reserve, because we do have things coming down the pipe with the water fund, whether it's an elevated tank or replacement of water lines. You probably need to transfer it to water reserve.
Yeah, we'll send that 125,000 to water reserve.
I think we had 10,000 up there, it's probably up that to 135.
You can just move it over.
No, we had 10,000 this year, we didn't put it, just to put at 125. We got some things coming down the pipe that are gonna be very costly.
So on the gas fund, I don't think we touched that. So page 11. Sewer fund. Didn't change that, didn't change the salary number for the sewer fund, having that person, city hall pay out the sewer fund still.
So do we need to do anything tonight with the 95,000?
Well, we got that employee for city hall, it was full-time at 30.
Is factored into this 95? Okay, but we may need to dig a little deeper to get up to
Yeah, if you, if y'all want to, like I said, we do have wiggle room there.
Okay, good.
Do
We
y'all
don't
wanna
need
do
to
that
change it
now?
right now, we can work with that.
You can always move it later.
Yeah, it's maybe, you know,
Okay.
that poor sewer reserve, we've taken from it all year long, whether it's been the sewer machine that needed repairs or we needed additional funds for the trucks. And
So on page 12, we kept the electric panels. No change there.
And that, and just so, as a council, just a reminder, that's based on a contractor's quote. We're still working with Ronnie, see if we can get a better price on those.
I guess is James working with Ronnie on, that's at the sewer plant. Right,
Yeah,
that's
this is
the, like,
sewer plant.
I thought I heard before, was that in the budget for this year? Or that's new we're trying to do next year? For the
Well,
electrical
he
panel?
didn't get it done this year, so it's.
So that would be transferred to next
Right.
year and that would free this up for
The
capital.
connecting panels for the generators are in the emergency management.
That's something I'm still
Include the
waiting,
sewer and all that. Okay.
that's something I'm still waiting on Ronnie and
Yeah.
he hasn't
Just
gotten
so
back
you
to me.
know, we also wait, we're trying to see if we can get a lower price instead of going, see if we can do it in turn. So, that'll be good. Okay. Is there anything else, Edward?
No, I don't think so. Just really glad we got that rescue 300-something thousand come in. That softens the blow quite a bit.
You want to take that into consideration? Okay, any other discussions or anything else? It's, 8:17 right now.
Yes, can we take a break?
Yeah, we're gonna take a break, but is everybody comfortable? We go ahead and terminate right now, okay?
Yes.
So Josie, if you can show us at 8:17. Go ahead and take a 15-minute break?
Yeah.
15-minute break, okay? We'll go ahead and. And Josie, if you want to show, it's 8:31. 8:31. Yeah. We'll go ahead and move on into the special meeting. This is the city council of the city of Lido will have a special session on Monday, August the 2nd. The Lido City Hall immediately following the budget workshop at 6:30. So, first thing on the agenda we have is consider and act upon the request from the HEB for water from a fire hydrant for an event. So the reason that we put that one is because they're having an event and they need to go ahead and place the order, and they wanted to see if we could help them out. It is it's a type of like a dunking booth that they use. They requested in the fire department to see if they could actually help out. It's approximately about 500 gallons in there. They said they're willing to pay. We said the cost would be,
Well, the minimum's $12, and that's up to 3,000 gallons.
so it's $12 if somebody would just buy the water. So we have the opportunity to approve it, not approve it, and if we do approve it, if we want to charge or not charge, it'd be $12.
They having like they had last year, they had they had a bath thing.
No, good point. So what they're doing is it's actually a partner. It's basically for their employees. They're doing something to say thanks to them, to kind of bring them together just because of what they've gone through.
So it's not gonna be open.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we haven't done this in a long, long time, but years ago, before all the water restrictions and all that, there was a few times when somebody needed water from the hydrant and they needed the fire department to deliver. And council just let the fire department get the water and put it in the truck and go, and if people wanted to give the fire department a donation, so be it, but, for $12, what's the sense, right?
So when HEB called the fire, and we get this from time to time, I need help filling my pool and all, and we just don't do that because obviously that's a commodity the city or somebody sells. So we just tell them that we can't do that. And that's why they're now here at council.
That's why. it's
Yeah, I've got no problem helping out as a community kind of thing. Hey, let's go, because we've got the ability to transfer water. It's just, we can't do that without council saying, hey, you have our blessing if you want to take our
Make a
water.
motion, we do this and not charge HEB because of all the goodwill we've gotten from HEB for the city, especially the recent cold spell and droughts and all that.
Okay, I have a motion. Okay, got a second? Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So you go ahead and.
Yeah, if I can just get whoever that point of contact is, if we've got it, and then I can coordinate from there for the fire department.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is consider and act upon proposing a tax rate for 21-22 fiscal year. Josie?
Well, as we discussed earlier, you saw with the no new revenue tax rate was 3,863, and the voter approved tax rate is 3,905. We'll have to have at least one public hearing if we go with the 3,905. If we go with the no new tax revenue, then there are no public hearings. But Edward and I, when we calculated this for the budget, we put in the 3,905, which is what council did last year with the 4,154, is go with the voter approved rate.
So it was, we raising the taxes.
Well, actually, if the values didn't change for people, their taxes are gonna go down. If the values went up, then they'll see a slight increase. But the actual rate is 3,905 when it was 4,154 last year. So people will see it as going down, but if the values went up, that's one of the reasons why the rate went down.
So 3,905 then?
3,905 is the
That
voter
doesn't trigger
approved
the
rate.
election though, right? If we went above that,
If you go above the 3,905, that's when the election can be petitioned for. It triggers an election.
I think the 3,905 would be the way to go. Is that what you suggest?
Well, I'm not really gonna suggest anything. I'm just telling you that Edward and I use that number for the budget.
To not have
It won't trigger an election.
Okay.
And the reason for that, last year with going with that one is so that we can continue to raise it that 3.5%. Whereas if we leave it at the 3.863, that 3.5% last year, and next year will be less. So, you know, we usually have a public hearing anyway. So last year we went with the voter approved rate.
So our numbers, instead of saying that it's a 42 cent, per 100, once we go into this, we're gonna be saying it's 39. So we're gonna show, so technically, we're still gonna be showing a lot less compared to some other surrounding communities.
Oh, our tax rate? Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah, I know that.
So it's a good thing.
It's a great thing I believe from a taxpayer standpoint, it's a great thing. If you can accomplish all this stuff you've added this budget and you're not having to raise the rate. I mean, I don't know what more anybody could expect from you.
And if they have a problem about the evaluations, they take up.
Yeah, well, they should have taken care of it with the protest process.
So we have that in front of us.
Now, before we do, in case y'all didn't know it, even if they go up on your rate, on your valuations quite a bit, the law has a 10% cap in there. So they can't go up over 10% for this year over last year.
That's only on your homestead.
Well, that's on your homestead, we're talking about mostly homesteads, so. The businesses are a different matter, but on your homestead, it can't go up, it's a 10% cap. So,
I think I'm motion to go with 3 now, but
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Alright.
Any opposed?
okay, I did, get the people at Jordan started working on it, and the thing is, that I'm needing to ask y'all is, when we want to have that, and you and I, if we can have it on the 9th, the public hearing, but I don't know that we can have it that quick. I'm gonna be honest. I'll have to check with her, she's gonna double check.
Please do, because if we can do it in
I tell you, these
conjunction.
timelines that they set are so, maybe, they don't, they don't give you a chance
You
for
do
too
that along
much.
with the city council meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
if we
It's
can.
very
just so we
possible
can
we'll have a
if we
public
can.
Do
hearing.
that right at the beginning?
Yes.
Right.
just like we did.
To let the public know.
That's correct.
Right.
That's what we're hoping for, if we can do it, that way we don't have to schedule another date and be able to take care of it, so.
Josie, just from past experience, I've never been to one of those. Does it usually go pretty smoothly? I mean,
Our rate's so low, and with the fact that people are gonna see that it went down,
Yeah.
it'll be opening closed.
In the 22 years I've been here, I've never seen anyone show up to one.
We're in the bottom third of the state for our city tax rate.
good. To make this be easier for us to hire people to come into.
Now, mind you, it would be for our sales tax, we wouldn't be there, because,
Yeah.
before we adopted that additional 0.5% sales tax, our tax rate was 60-something cents at that time.
Okay. Well, it won't play out,
Okay. Any further discussion, anything, actually, I think I already took it up, didn't I? Sure did. Okay, Josie, anything else? Okay. Edward, anything else? Okay. Council, anything else? Okay, anybody out there? Okay. Well, Josie, if you can go ahead and show at, if I can get a motion for us to show at 8:40, we're closing out the meeting. Second. Second. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it, thank you for your time. Edward, Josie, thank you for your hard work putting all this stuff together today, really appreciate that.
Yeah.